Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the summit entitled Love in Action, What Sensitive Dogs Really Need to Feel Safe and Loved. And we sometimes think we know what they need, but the reason that I have invited this amazing panel of speakers is because often what we think they need is not really actually what they need. So today I am so excited to welcome Linda Michaels. Linda is an author. Hi, Linda. Linda is an author, and her book, which if you follow me at all, you know I talk about this book all the time. If we can get it here close enough for to see it. It looks a little blurred, but anyway, it's the Do No Harm Dog Training and Behavior Handbook featuring the hierarchy of dog needs. And the hierarchy is, yes, the hierarchy, thank you, Linda. The hierarchy is going to play a huge role in our conversation because it will play a huge role in the way you interact with your dog. And once you start to understand what is behind all of those steps in that triangular hierarchy, that pyramid, um, it's going to really transform. Yes, it's going to transform the way you interact with your dog. So I'm so excited to get to this. Um, Linda has a philosophy that just resonates so strongly with me. She has a dog-centered alternative to the outdated paradigms that include punitive methods. Punitive methods, punishment, coercion, force, fear, none of those things are necessary. We used to think they were, but they're not. And so let's get started. Linda, before we get into the science of love, which I can't wait for, um, would you tell the folks a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are now in this mission that you have to bring people closer to their dogs?
Thank you, Marilyn. Hi. Hi, everyone. Well, it's been a long and winding path for me to get here. And so I think I'll just start with my degree. I have a master's degree in experimental psychology, and I've done conducted research in behavioral neurobiology. And I was a really physio person. I wasn't thinking I was going to go into behavior until I went to the Humane Society. I was looking for a thesis project and could not find something that I was passionate about in neurobiology. And I was getting really scared I wasn't going to be able to complete a thesis because I was told, you have to love your subject or you're never going to finish.
Mhm.
And so my best friend said, well, why don't you go down to the Humane Society? Because she knew I loved dogs, and ask them if you can work with their dogs on a thesis project. And I was like, oh my God, that's so brilliant. Like, I went like right down there. And so I had that excitement that I needed to write
Yeah.
a thesis, right? So, in any case, the education that I got at the Humane Society, that started a 5-year volunteer working relationship that I had with the San Diego Humane Society. And what I learned and experienced there really laid the foundation for all the work that I do today. And so, I just picked up every credential I could think of. I learned, I'm a certified veterinary assistant. I'm a pet professional, PCTA, and just wanted everything about dogs fascinates me. And so now I have this 80 something thousand member Facebook group. and 10 awesome moderators who are all experts in their own right. Thank goodness, because I mean, my members are very busy.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, and I just learned publishing because I finally put out my book.
Yeah. And so you found the thing that you love so that you could go
Yeah.
ahead and do it. And that, like I feel that. I really feel that. Um, because when you're doing something you love, you are so passionate about it and you want to share what you've learned with everyone. And the fact that you've got 80,000 people who are concerned about do no harm training, that is awesome. And what it tells me is that there's a huge need out there for people are just hungry to find a better way to relate to their dogs so that they don't have to use those old systems of punishment and force, and it's all transactional, like one way conversation. I speak, you listen. And what we've come to and what you have shared in your philosophy of do no harm is that there's a lot more to relating to dogs than just that very superficial kind of thing. So that brings us to our topic today, which is love is an action word. And you're going to talk to us about the science of love. So excited for this topic. But let's just look at the hierarchy again. And in the hierarchy, love is an emotional need. Why did you include love
Right
and right
there.
as an emotional need? Yes. Why did you include love as an emotional need?
Well, I am what you mentioned about the science. I am, having told you about my career in academia, I'm very nerdy at the core, you know, and that fascination for, yeah, you too. And probably like lots of people who are watching.
Uh-huh.
Uh, However, I felt compelled to talk about love and to make it a permanent element on the hierarchy of dog needs, which is a guide to physical and emotional wellness. But it's not about that we love our dogs as a feeling, because almost everyone is going to tell you that they love their dog.
Mhm.
But what loving our dogs means, because our dogs need our love. That's why love is a need of dogs. Um, our dogs need us to show up in practical terms, far beyond affection, because affection is not enough. And as far as being an action word, I even have some. Oh, it's
I love
looks,
that little dog, that little Frenchie is so
but
cute.
it's Valentine's, so it's just very fitting. Um, so it's not just about what we feel in our hearts, and I love the title of your series here, but how willing we are to learn about our dogs in our heads, and then ask the question, as our dogs ask of us, how much can we be trusted to walk the talk?
Mhm.
That is, to apply what we've learned about our dogs. Because demonstrating love to a dog is a lot like showing love to a child,
Mhm.
providing for their needs because they can't fend for themselves. They're entirely dependent upon us. So the top two things that we can promise to give our dogs this Valentine's Day and throughout the new year and every year are physical safety, removing any threats to physical safety, whether that threat is a real threat or a threat perceived by your dog as a threat, and emotional safety. This is critically important, and we know this for ourselves. We need to feel both physically safe and emotionally safe in order to thrive. So doing these two things lays the foundation for a happy life with your dog. And we want to provide every single need that you see on the hierarchy of dog needs. Starting with the biological needs, proper nutrition. Oh my goodness, that's a big topic, but it's the first chapter in the book. And moving all the way through consent, using these methods. All, you mentioned about the paradigm, removing the opportunity or to teach punitive, aversive methods. And those are not on the hierarchy of dog needs. We don't need to be teaching that. And I'm doing a webinar for PPG on the hierarchy of dog needs as versus Lima, showing the differences and where do no harm dog training really shines. So we want to offer pardon me?
For folks who don't know what Lima is, maybe you could just tell them that it's an acronym. Tell them what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. It's acronym. It's LIMA, least intrusive, minimally aversive method of teaching dogs. But the problem is the origins of Lima. What it was designed for was to teach aversives effectively. I'm not going to go all into it, but there are chapters on shock collars, on prong collars in the original works of Lindsay, who coined the term Lima. And the problem is that a couple of very large dog organizations have adopted Lima as their platform. So we are looking for an alternative. And hopefully, well, I've been told that the hierarchy of dog needs is going up on the PPG website. I've been waiting for this. What?
PPG for folks who don't know.
Pet Professional Guild. Anyone who
It's a very, very well-established organization. Yeah.
It's a safe place for dogs. It's the only large international independently testing credentialing program that is indeed force-free. And they stick to their ethics.
Yeah.
And the hierarchy of dog needs is a guide embedded with an ethical code, which is what we need in dog training. We need an ethical code, a compass, a moral compass.
Yeah, and I think that there, for the average pet owner, and even for professionals out there, they struggle with conflict because they hear voices from, one area, and then they hear voices like yours. And, and I speak to people who are really entrenched in the old way also, and it's very hard for them to wrap their mind around it. But I think when we're talking about love as a science, it's easy for people to say, oh, I love my dog. And most people do. They have that feeling of love for their dog. But what you're talking about is, you mentioned before, it's like the love we have for a child. And sometimes, for that child's best interest and well-being, it involves a lot more than just hugging and stroking and giving them treats and gifts and all of that. All of that is lovely. But if we're going to talk about the science of love, there's a lot more to it. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, let me say that I got a lot of backlash on including love on the hierarchy of dog needs from scientists and the academicians, as well as trainers who are nerdy like me. So I was trepidatious when I went to research it for the book. I didn't really know what I was going to find, but I found enough, and it's very interesting. That I would find love in the title of some books, like this book here by Pat Miller. I use this to teach classes for years and years as, positive perspectives. Love your dog. And that's through training. And then this by Dr. Gregory Burns. Oh my gosh, How Dogs Love Us. And I want to talk about Dr. Burns and his research. I'm so glad you asked about the science, because you mentioned that people and professionals are hearing, two different stories. And so this is where we can really cut to the chase to see what is happening, because scientists in many fields, from neuroscience to anthropology, tell us that what we call the experience of love can be explained by hormonal chemistry and brain chemistry, and that the same systems are activated when dogs interact with us as between people who are in love. Same stuff. And oxytocin is called the love hormone. And Dr. Burns's research was motivated by the death of a dog that he loved, Newton, and he wanted to know what dogs are thinking and feeling. So, being a neuroscientist, he discovered that the dog brain looks and functions much like the human brain when a dog has a pleasant relationship with their person. He's famous for his functional MRI studies, and they demonstrate that. So this is so important. We now have hard scientific evidence for the first time that the same brain region lights up in both dog-human bonds and human-human bonds. And so these data indicate that dogs love us and they miss us when we are gone. I'm going to talk about secure attachment in a little while, and I discuss it in great length in my book. And you can read more about the scientific evidence in my book. I have 18 pages of scientific citations, because throughout my career, I was always questioned about my beliefs. And so in this book, I wanted to give trainers and scientists and whoever may have an interest what they need, not only to make presentations on these subjects, but to back up what I've said with science. And so Dr. Burns has given a great gift in showing with these data. There's also a genetic basis for forming close bonds with people. And that is well established in the work on the silver foxes by the famous researchers, the Belayevs. And that's Victor.
Oh.
I've had the great privilege
Oh my
of
goodness. Yeah.
training and working with Belayev foxes here in Santa Rosa, California. There is a facility called the Judith A. Bassett Canine Research and Conservation Center, and they have a number of the Belayev foxes that they have adopted. So that was that and working with wolf dogs have been some of the highlights of my career. So that's Victor. Yeah. And he, he does events, and you can go there if you're interested in learning about the Belayev experiments and how they have taught us so much about the genetics of domestication.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
let me just
maybe I
add
can
one other
add.
thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, maybe we can add below this video a little information about how to do what you just said, to go, how to find out
Oh,
more
yeah,
about that. So we can do
you
that.
know, I'll definitely give you the link.
Okay.
It's an experience of a lifetime
Yeah.
to go there,
That's-
and the couple that created this facility in honor of David's mother, who was a dog trainer. They are extraordinarily knowledgeable. They also have Australian singing dogs. They have a wolf dog. They now have a jackal, an abandoned jackal pup. They're just it's quite the treat, and something
yeah.
that you will never forget.
So these are animals that we think of as wildlife. We think of, foxes and jackals and so forth. Not so much as, domesticated animals, but more as, wildlife.
Mhm.
So, um, is it because they were able to establish a secure attachment with those individual animals that made them more willing to become part of a human, human interaction?
That's a really good question, but I would say no.
Okay.
They're too wild for that. However, what Belayev used as a test to determine which foxes he was going to breed, and he had two subject groups. One was breeding the tamer foxes with the tamer foxes, and one was breeding the more aggressive foxes with the more aggressive foxes. We don't hear a lot about those results because we're interested in the domestication of the dog, of the wolf, rather, to the dog. But so the test that he used is called flight distance. It's very simple. If you have a fox, and these are fur foxes that they used in Russia. Um, you have a fox in a cage, and you approach the cage. They would use flight distance from the human to determine which ones were more tame. And so, those that ran to the back of the cage and were hissing, and they weren't going to, they might have put those in the aggressive study, but those who did not seem really bothered um so much and remained rather calm, they bred those with like a like partner. And thus they discovered that what happened of breeding over generations, the morphology, the color of the fox's coats, the ears dropping down, all of the things that we see in our dogs changed very quickly over a series of generations, and which allowed them to study the domestication of the wolf to the dog, because foxes are closely related to gray wolf in that they're canines, right? So, oh yeah, it's like in just endlessly interesting,
So
but
what
I
does,
wouldn't call it attachment.
yeah, what does,
They
the
don't.
changes that occurred over after breeding numerous generations as the animals became more domesticated, how can we apply that in our interactions with our dogs? What does that tell us about, we want to make our dogs, we love our dogs, but we want them to feel love, and we're talking about secure attachment, and that's a trusting, bonded relationship where there's mutual trust. People, trust the dog, and the dog, of course, to feel loved has to trust the person, is unless, stop me if I'm going off on a tangent, but how can those domestication changes, how can they help us understand what our dogs really need in order to believe that they're loved? It's one thing for us to say, I love my dog, but if the dog doesn't believe it, if the dog doesn't feel it, then there's a disconnect there, and it's not going to help. So how can we use that information? How can we help our dogs to feel that love, to know that we love them and that they can trust us?
That's it. It's trust.
Mm.
Um, and in Psychology Today, the famous dog researcher and author who many people are familiar with, he's the hero he's a warrior for the dogs, Dr. Mark Bekoff, who graciously wrote the foreword to my book.
Mhm.
He says, and I wrote this down, quote, "We do indeed know what and who dogs want and need. It isn't rocket science." Dogs and other animals want and need to feel loved, safe, and secure. They want and need to interact and have fun and play with their friends and engage in frenetic zoomies when they can. That's
Yeah.
uh yeah. So
People worry about zoomies, and they're, they happen. It's it's just
yeah, it's fun. It's a dog having fun.
just silly dog, goofy, silly dog,
So
just.
when we express love by meeting needs,
Mhm.
this is so interesting, Marilyn. When we express love by meeting the needs in the hierarchy of dog needs, many of the behaviors that humans perceive as problematic just seem to melt away,
Yes.
because what your dog was been asking you through the behavior that you didn't like was to please focus on their real needs, not only on your needs
Yeah.
in the relationship.
Yeah. And zoomies is a great example of that, because when do most dogs do their zoomies? Usually in the evening. That's that's the common answer that I get, and that's when the person, it just isn't in the mood. Instead of, so what could people do instead in order to achieve that sense of meeting the dog's need and thereby building trust? Either zoomies or any other. Just, can we come up with like a real concrete example of how people um can just relax and show their dogs that they are loved, so the dog feels loved by meeting a basic need? You talk about behavior problems vanishing. I totally
It's
100%. I've
it's
seen that happen again and
just
again
by
and again.
providing the proper nutrition and sufficient exercise, and in the case of brachycephalic breeds, sufficient air, and all the things on the hierarchy of dog needs. If a pet parent invests in the well-being of their dog in this way, the problems they had, they don't have them anymore, for the most part. Not entirely, but I do discuss in some detail doggy enrichment land in the book. So you were asking, what can pet parents do? And so not only is a doggy enrichment land and like an entertainment center for your dog, with lots of opportunities to use the sense of smell, which takes up a huge portion of the dog's brain, information processing of smells, and how your dog sees the world, but providing them with activities. If the pet parent is tired, just the proximity to us, it doesn't always have to be interactive, but we need to be there, being there for our dogs,
Mhm.
is as important as it is for us humans to have interaction with other people.
Right.
You know, it's just critical, and they don't have the opportunity to go online. You know, they can't talk to you, Marilyn. You know, they can't, so, you know, they can't join my group. Uh, so what they have is the pet parent.
Mhm.
And I use that term pet parent because of the research that I talked about that discusses that it's much like a parent-child relationship
Mhm.
with our dogs.
Mhm. I agree with that. I think the word parent, I mean, there's different words people use, guardian, caregiver, and so on. But
I
I think,
tried. I tried a whole bunch of different, you
yeah,
know, I
uh,
decided
I, I'm with you on that. I think that the word parent really expresses what our responsibility is to the dogs that we bring into our homes and our families. That we're
and
not just
as
taking
Gregory
care of.
Burns,
Yeah.
pardon me?
Yeah, we're not just taking care of them, or we're not just being a guardian and making sure that, things go well and they don't, get into trouble. We're parenting them. We have that very, very intense, very profound relationship with dogs. And I think once we acknowledge that and tell people, validate that, yes, that's the way you should relate to your dog. Because some people feel a little uneasy about they think, well, there's all the sentimental terminology that they don't want to be associated with. But it's not sentimental. To me, it's scientific. It
And it
is,
is,
yeah.
because listen to this.
Hmm.
And many people are familiar with Dr. John Bradshaw.
Yeah.
And what he says,
Hmm.
and this was music to my ears, is that biologists have been reluctant to use the term love to describe the bond between a dog and a pet parent. So they typically call it attachment. So they're describing just what, how the importance of attachment. And there's like a mountain of literature or scientific literature on secure attachment and other types of attachment. And I do want to talk about that,
Yeah.
love as an anchor.
Yeah, please do. Yes.
So you are the anchor.
Hmm.
You are the person that your puppy imprinted upon after being very suddenly removed from your puppy's mother and the siblings at a very, very tender age. Oh, and the familiar environment and the familiar people. Like your dog has just been displaced to a foreign land and it's so young. Um, you are the surrogate parent. So you're the anchor to well being. So the definition of imprinting from zoology, by the way, it's when a animal comes to recognize another animal, person, or thing as a parent, or there's that word again, or other object of habitual trust, which you mentioned. So you're the person your rescue dog attached to after being relinquished,
Hmm.
abandoned by your dog's previous primary persons and family.
Hmm.
We need to, I know you work with trauma in dogs, and so this is a huge issue, and does not get enough attention. We really need to look at
Yeah.
the euthanasia rate and the throwaway dogs in our culture.
Mhm.
But we need to create a secure attachment that can be trusted reliably to be there in good times and bad times. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. Dogs have patterns of attachment similar to an infant's attachment to a parent. And that's from Topal et al., the scientists. All the citations, like if you want to, read them, like as I said, they're in my book. This is not just my idea of what I think about attachment. So we need to be the secure base. We need to be the anchor. There's such, such great, title that you have, because our dogs are captives. Really, they behave like children in various ways, often clinging to us
Mhm.
and looking to us when they are unsure. So let me just say, though, that although the insecure attachment is very emotionally painful,
Mhm.
it also, even when the environment changed, um, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to eliminate. And this is another one of the things that humans understand very well for ourselves. If we had an attachment issue with our parents, you know, as adults, we can go through 10 years of therapy and it will help, hopefully, but that doesn't make what happened disappear. It will never, it's deep set in the brain, those early developmental experiences. So we need to take note of that. So a secure attachment means that we stay steadfastly loyal to our dogs, protecting them from harm, and to be there when they turn to you. And your dog will likely turn to you if you're likely to be there.
What does that mean, Linda, to be there when they turn to you? That there's so many levels of meaning in that. I think people have good intentions, but we're back again, we're circling back to the hierarchy of needs. And so when a dog turns to you and maybe expresses, as you said earlier, problem, quote, problem behavior, is really the dog saying, I need something, and please, if you just give me what I need, then I won't have to keep asking. So their behavior is their effort to get their needs met. So from from the point of view of parenting, if we continue with that parallel of parenting a human child, since it's pretty well established that there's a strong parallel between parenting a dog and parenting a human child. If a human child had some behavior issues, I think most parents would not just try to superficially change the behavior. I think most parents, who take their responsibilities seriously, I think that they would say, what's going on with this child? Why is this child doing this? What can I do to help them not feel so at a loss, so needy? What can I do? Do you?
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Let me say that what I was thinking of when I spoke of turn to, I was thinking of the literal. And we see this. If your dog is fearful, your dog will often like look at you. They're looking at you to protect them. They might get closer to you, moving their body closer to you in times of fearfulness is a big statement, you know. But so what you said about a child with a problem, we can start with crying, for example, in children. When you have a baby that's crying, right away, okay, this baby needs something. The baby needs to be changed. The baby needs to be fed. The baby needs to be held and comforted. We don't just go to, well, hopefully people don't do the ignore.
Back in the
anymore.
day, I guess they did, but I don't
That's
think
the
these
old
days
fashioned.
people do that anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still see a lot of timeouts, like just ignore the separation anxiety, crying and whining, your dog asking you to please help them out. They're having a hard time. They can't handle being alone.
Mm,
And, so, as much as with older children, we look for the underlying drive for that behavior and the motivation for that behavior, and then address that, so we need to be intuitive and learn about dog body language and learn about our dog's expression of need through behavior, just as you said.
and that's love in action.
Yes.
That's your
And that's love in action.
Yes, it is, and that's the science, and um it's the way we live our lives, and if we can just, bring it into the dog world as well. I'm so glad we had this conversation. It just it just kind of affirms everything that in my heart I believe to be true, and the things that I want other people to just look at this and see if it resonates with you.
And
So
and
yeah,
embrace it, because
embrace it.
the science is on our side, Marilyn. When
Mhm.
we look, we're
Yeah.
going to find the science is on our side.
Yes, such a great feeling to know that. Um, so I know that you have like a whole bundle of goodies that you can share with people.
I do.
Yeah. Linda's like the little Valentine's Day goodie basket. So tell us about all the little sweets that you have.
Okay. Um, for people coming, attending the webinar here, you can use this We Follow Do No Harm training on my website, Do No Harm Dog Training, and download it. We Follow Do No Harm Training Principles. You can download it and use it on your website, use it on your Facebook posts, use it as a profile pic, whatever you would like online. Also, I have free on the website a booklet about how pet professionals, anyone involved in an animal related field, can use the hierarchy of dog needs, how to use it to teach. And the book is really a teaching tool. That's why I called it a handbook. And I was talking with Marilyn before we went live about the index, and that was, one of the most important things to me was to have a detailed index because of my previous frustration in not being able to find what I needed when I had a new client or a new situation, and I needed to try to solve a problem force free. Like, where do I, lots of narratives, and I just became incredibly frustrated. So in a way, I wrote the book for myself. I wrote it for trainers,
Yeah.
try to make it easy,
Mhm.
because it's too hard. It's just too hard to recreate the wheel every time you have a client with a cluster of problems, and you're trying to start that treatment plan and address everything, but you can increase your bottom line too using the hierarchy of dog needs, which is also on the website, and available in 12 different languages. And
Mhm.
so, also, this comes as a bumper sticker. That was a dream, a dream long in the making, Marilyn. I have wanted a bumper sticker uh, for a
Yeah.
couple of decades. So you can put this on your bumper, It's available for sale online. There's smaller ones you can put on your phone. I have opened a do no harm store because I was always stymied about what I was going to wear to work when I was working in the field. You know, how could I advertise just going to Starbucks? And there was, I had some shirts created with my own business logo, but I just like you have to have a good designer, and no, it's complicated. So I created a line of products. The stickers are one thing. The mugs, I have do no harm mugs as well. And you can buy the hierarchy of dog needs that's ready to hang in canvas, ready to hang in your training facility, in your veterinary office, wherever you like, put it in the window of your store. And clothes, excuse me, clothes. Here's the do no harm.
Oh, pink.
Yeah,
I like that.
Color.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, actually, this shirt is mine. This is a tissue tee. I like wearing tissue tees under t-shirts. And it has the logo, a little classy logo on the back. And it comes in like 19 different colors. So that's important.
Yeah, it is. And that's, that's so important. What you said about like going into Starbucks. People, if I'm wearing a shirt that has some kind of a brand logo on it for some organization that like I volunteer for or something like that, people stop and ask you about it all the time. It's a great way for people to just spread this message of do no harm. You can have a loving relationship with your dog by just being aware of that collaboration of meeting the dog's needs, because dogs try really hard to meet our needs. And
Oh,
we,
that's
yeah. So, we can meet their needs, and it's a great conversation starter about,
exactly, exactly.
talking
When
to
you're in
people.
the line in the grocery store, you
Yeah.
and the thing is, the beauty of this is, and this is a tri blend. This is my favorite color. These are really super soft, uber soft. When
Looks soft. Yeah.
and hoodies. This is oops,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
just
I
one
love that color
color. It
combination.
comes in a lot of cool color combinations.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, when people see you, those who are attracted to the message of do no harm are the ones that are likely to become your clients. So
Yeah.
you're attracting a very specific group of people,
Yes.
those who are looking for another path,
Yes.
those who would like to learn about force-free training.
Hmm.
And so that's important too, because we all each have only so much energy. And the debates about shock collars with shock collar proponents, I don't do that anymore. I am looking at laws and regulation because things have not gone in the right direction, in my opinion. Um, but in terms of teaching, I want to spend my, you know, I don't want to throw, I want to spend my pearls on those who are willing to listen, and
Yes.
the
Yes.
store products
Yeah.
can help you attract those people.
Right. And I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind, whether you're a professional or not. Um, if someone is not receptive, there's no amount of discussion that's going to make any difference at all.
Yeah,
So as
education
Linda
is
said,
not enough.
yeah, spend your energy on the people who are open to this and who really want to learn more and to do better for their dogs. People who really have that compassionate heart, and they realize that maybe if they did something a little bit different, that things would be better for their dog. And so they're open to it. Those are the people that you need to be talking to. They're the ones that are going to ask you about, what does that mean? Do no harm. You know, what's that about? So,
Yeah, how does do no harm relate to dog training?
yeah,
Oh,
right.
yeah. And
That's,
my group, the Do No Harm Dog Training Facebook group, is all about, it's a force-free support group. So that's what I'm doing there. And my moderators, we're helping people who want to learn, who
Mhm,
are open
mhm,
to learning
yeah,
about the science
mhm,
and about how to use the science in practical terms in their everyday lives.
mhm. And that's where you're going to do the most good, with the people who are really open and want to learn. And my guess is that the vast majority of people listening to this interview come into that category. And
Mhm.
that's why they're here,
And
because they really are open. So this is um, an awesome opportunity to take advantage of this. So display that little digital download that's free. That's in Linda's little bundle. The workbook is free, and even if you're not a professional, it will give
oh,
you, some insight
if
into,
you love
yeah,
dogs,
yeah,
you know,
even
if
if you're
you
next,
volunteer, if you have a dog, because even if you don't have a dog and you just love dogs, as most people that I interact with love dogs. So
yeah,
there you have it.
right.
My friend.
We attract the people who are aligned with our beliefs and our approach and all of that. So yeah. Linda, this has been awesome. I'm so excited about looking up that free book. I'm definitely going to check that
Yeah, it's
out.
a download. You just click on it and it'll
Yeah,
download to your email.
right. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview and sharing your pearls of wisdom with
Oh, and thank you so much
everyone.
for inviting me, Marilyn. Um, and on that note,
Ah,
isn't that too cute? Hey, there's your goldens for you.
yeah, my Goldens. I know. I was sharing with Linda. I have a new connection with Goldens. A story for another day.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I love your little Valentine's Day things. They're awesome. I love that.
Oh,
So
sure.
happy
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, everybody, and
Yes.
take advantage of this holiday, this time of year, to think more about the love that your dog needs and how you can meet that need a little better. Think about Linda's message of do no harm. So thank you.
Great topic, Marilyn. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. And let's see.